Not everybody who is middle-aged experiences angst or a midlife crisis, but everybody experiences some interesting changes in their middle years. If the candles on your cake are heavier than the cake, psychiatrist Dr. Fred Shane has some interesting observations on middle age and all it entails in his ebook, Keeping Your Cool. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Fred Shane to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Fanny.
Well, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
A veteran of the psychiatric wars, it says on your bio.
That's what my publicist says.
Really? I know, I thought a veteran of the psychiatric wars.
There you go.
So I'm assuming you could be middle-aged.
Well, I'm in there. I'm very much in the midst of it.
Is there a number that you put to middle age?
Well,
or middle years?
You know, it was a term that was popularized in the 60s, and you probably remember the book Passages by Gelshi.
I sure
and
do.
Been some psychiatrists, a fellow by the name of Levinson, 40 to 65. Now, obviously, if you're 65, the idea you're middle age doesn't quite connect. But somehow it's gained a certain amount of popularity in our modern day jingo. I mean, a century ago, the average age was about 47. So, you know, it's become popularized as a term.
And I know many 65-year-olds, 67-year-olds, 68-year-olds who act middle-aged, if there's a way to do that. They feel good, they look good.
Oh, for sure.
They're active,
sure.
they're there.
No.
And if you said, well, now that you're a senior, they're going like, shh,
yeah,
I'm not a senior.
Yeah. Well, it's the old story, as my wife always said, it's how you feel. That's very important. If you're blessed with, you know, good health, good looks.
You have good looks.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're no longer young, but you're not really that old either.
That's correct.
How about that definition for it all?
Yeah, that's not bad.
And you don't feel or look that old, any of that, but
right.
you are dealing with some issues that are pretty surprising.
Yeah.
Sometimes shocking.
Yes.
I would say for women, often it's invisibility. Especially women who have always been drop-dead gorgeous. They're still gorgeous, but they're not quite as gorgeous, and they use that beauty to get to places or to get to men, and suddenly they walk in a room and no one's head turns.
Right. And I think if you look at my book, there's a couple of issues. One's on Botox, you know, to be or not to be. Another one who's separated from her husband, should she have plastic surgery? So it's got to do with our image, you know, the whole thing, as we're both aware, the narrative about our youth culture and how we age, at least externally, and our attractiveness. And that can create a crisis. Some of us age more gently, you know, and some of us, like Jane Fonda, you know, they have their favorite plastic surgeon, or Joan Rivers.
Well, and she's been doing it for many years.
Yes.
And some of my French friends in Montreal, they've been tweaking since they were in their 30s, which was smart.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait till it all drops. And then you have to lift it all up, the old skin.
Yeah.
But that's another story, another day.
It's a value, how we, you know, obviously in some societies, those are not major issues.
No. And it would be nice if it wasn't in this society, but as you know, and I know, it is an issue, depending on how secure you are and how comfortable you are.
Absolutely.
You also deal with job loss in keeping your cool. You lose your job, you're 60, you're not ready to retire, you can't find work.
Yeah, it's very traumatic, you know, those issues, because it gets down to the heart of, you know, who we are. You know, usually you're up at 7 or 8 and you have somewhere to go. And then all of a sudden you get cut off, and that's it's very traumatic. You know, what do I do with the rest of my life? It leads to depression. You know, it's interesting. In middle age, if you can believe it or not, there are 15% who are on antidepressants. So you put that in the American context, you know, millions of people who are getting, you know, Prozacs and Zoloft and all that sort of stuff. Life, these crises can have a very profound traumatic effect.
Some men and some women seem to have huge angst in middle age.
Yep.
Why is that? You know, the man who comes home, leaves you, buys the red car. I mean, it's a
stereotype.
Hollywood stereotype. Buys the Ferrari, puts the young nubile,
that's right,
20-year-old in the driver's seat.
Like Ashton Kutcher.
Exactly. He went the other way. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Demi getting Ashton or whatever. But it's the Hollywood idea of midlife crisis.
Right. Right.
So why do some do that and some don't, or do you know?
Do I know? I'll check with the guy upstairs.
Okay.
Well, I think, you know, on a maybe a certain level, a primordial level, it's got to do with death. You know, the issue that we all have a sense of mortality, and we go along when you're 15, 25, 30. There's that sense of, you know, impervious. We're impervious. We have armor.
Invincible.
And then all of a sudden, something happens. You know, it may be overt, such as a parent gets sick, or one of our friends dies, quotations, prematurely at 40 or 45. Or some subliminal thing, all of a sudden something catches up, you know, in your archetypal Jungian sort of consciousness.
Right.
And you realize, hey, so you hang on, you know, you're the 45-year-old or 50 who gets the Mercedes or whatnot, and you leave your wife and you pick up on the 25-year-old cuddles.
Right, cuddles.
Et cetera. But that usually is pretty transient.
Beautiful cuddles who may not stay, but there's something about reproduction. This woman can still reproduce, because I see some of my friends' husbands who have gone off.
Right, yeah.
They now have whole new family.
Yeah.
They're 60 and they have babies. And all
But
of that.
I think, and it may work for some people. I mean, we've all familiar with people who are older, you know, and you know, in the celebrity world, anyways, because they get the press, they get the media. But you know, they're. And maybe, again, some of it's primordial. I mean, if you look back to, in an archetypal way, so the cavemen, right, how they used to go for the young chicks.
Sure.
Because of, you say, their ovaries, you know, their eggs are more ripe.
Right.
And all that sort of, that scenario.